Is Halloween Ends about to be delayed? How's it going, guys? As always, my name is Jimmy Champane, and this is the channel where it's always Halloween. If you like slashers, monsters, pretty much any horror movie released in the 1980s, this is the channel for you. Thanks to this seemingly never-ending virus that's making every movie I was looking forward to get delayed, we don't really have that much horror news to talk about lately. I understand how pathetic it is that I'm about to call this a silver lining, but the silver lining with Halloween Kills, though, is that it shot and was finished so much longer before COVID even was a thing that now they can trickle out the marketing as it starts to ramp up as we get closer to October. We've had a few images of Michael Myers, we've had a few trailers, we've had interviews with David Gordon Green, and today's news comes straight from the man himself, the executive producer of Halloween Kills, and the guy who created it all, John Carpenter. If you guys haven't been keeping up with the stuff he does in the music world, he's been making some really awesome albums over the past few years with his son and his godson. He actually just released the third album in the Lost theme series, which are basically a collection of tracks that could fit anywhere into any of John Carpenter's movies, but they're just like original songs and you come up with the movie in your head. He also had an album called Anthology, which was awesome. It was like a remixed, re-recorded, re-released album of all of the different themes from all the movies he's made, so I highly recommend checking that out. But like I mentioned, the third Lost Themes album just came out and he's been making the interview rounds. The one we're focusing on today is from NME, and I'm not going to necessarily recommend that you go check it out because even though it's an interview about his new album, it's like half a page of politics, a quarter of a page about his new music, and then like 2 questions about Halloween Kills. But he actually was pretty revealing about Halloween, so that's what part we're going to talk about now. He started out by reiterating stuff we already know, like the fact that Halloween Kills is completely done and has been completely done for a long time, and it's just sitting on someone's desk in a flash drive waiting to be uploaded to whatever streaming service it'll inevitably end up on. And then he talked about how it's a slasher film on steroids, which I like hearing. I've just heard it so many times. But there was a great answer when the interviewer asked him if it's a gory movie. He said, "Does the sun rise?" And that made me really happy. I know a lot of people look at Halloween 2018 and they say, I don't like how gory it is, especially when he stomps on Sartain's head and it explodes like a watermelon. But if you look at the Halloween franchise as a whole, as it went on, like literally from the jump from 1 to 2, it was getting pretty gory. There are moments of gore sprinkled throughout the entire franchise, and I'm okay with the fact that when they approached Halloween 2018, they said, okay, we're gonna take what worked about the old movie, which is the great, awesome mask, the awesome jumpsuit, Laurie Strode, Haddonfield as a concept, and then we're gonna modernize it with some genuinely brutal kills, especially the one where the lady gets stabbed through the neck at the end of the one take. That was absolutely amazing. And I'm gonna give them another pass because they did show restraint on a few kills, specifically with Mrs. Elrod, and they had that creepy ass moment with the baby where he just stares at it, which is honestly scarier than him killing it to me. And then the new stuff comes up, starting with him saying that Malik Akkad thinks it's the second best Halloween movie after the original, and I like that. I like hearing people be so positive about this movie, but I have to say, Malik Akkad is not necessarily the most trustworthy source on the quality of this movie because he's the financer, he's the guy who owns the rights to Halloween, so he's gonna say it's good even if it's a big stinking pile of shit. But again, it's nice to hear some positivity from pretty much everyone involved with this movie. And the only reason I bring that up in the first place is because Carpenter rounds out the answer by saying that it's a balls out slasher that's like one we haven't seen in a really long time. And I agree with that sentiment wholeheartedly. If you look at the time period in which Halloween came out, the original one, you had movies like that, Friday the 13th, A Nightmare on Elm Street, Alien, and Aliens. You were going to the theater to see an iconic villain murder the shit out of people, and that was fun. It was cool, it was exciting. Those are the movies I grew up watching. And as time went on, the horror genre has started to shift where you're rooting for the hero way more than you're rooting for the villain, which is kind of odd. And leading up to that movie, you could kind of tell that Universal was nervous that people wouldn't go see it if they focused on Michael. So in the marketing, they really played up the Laurie Strode and Alison Strode aspect of the movie. But then when it came out, we realized that Michael Myers is a way bigger focus in that movie than Laurie Strode. Like she's there to chase him around town, down and give him a reason to keep running so he can keep murdering people. But at the end of the day, that is a Michael Myers movie through and through. And it did kind of start to bring in some slashers from the past, like Scream 5 got greenlit. We have a new Texas Chainsaw movie coming out that's really calling back to the original. And then of course, you have characters like Pennywise from It and It Chapter 2. And after that is when the real meat of the interview starts, because there's a question about Halloween Kills being delayed. And the interesting thing here is that John Carpenter's answer makes it seem like Universal and Blumhouse came to him and David Gordon Green and asked them if they were okay delaying the movie. And it sounds like, I don't want to like put words into John Carpenter's mouth, but it really does sound like he was totally fine with them just throwing it up on VOD. And I'm sure David Gordon Green, on the other hand, was like, no, delay it. And at the time, I think that was the smartest move for Universal, because the pandemic situation was totally different. We didn't think it was gonna last until last October. And they were saying, well, if we delay it a year, theaters will be open in October of 2021. People will be in the theater, and that's where we're gonna make all of our money. Now the situation is completely different. So what I'm 90 to 95, maybe even 99 confident is going to happen is that Universal, regardless, is going to put Halloween Kills in theaters this October. That release date is definitely going to stick, in my opinion, and then they'll also put it out on VOD for 20 or 30 bucks, if not day and date, just a week or two after. I know they have an agreement with AMC that says they have to wait like 14 days to release on VOD, but looking at the situation AMC is in right now, where they had been closed for over a year, I don't think they're really in the position to be bargaining that hard with Universal. So to wrap it up, I guess my opinion here is that we're gonna see Halloween Kills at the end of this year in October. We're gonna have the option to go see it in theaters or VOD. And even as someone who's like a diehard movie theater fan who will do literally anything I can to see this movie in a theater when it comes out, I totally understand why they have to consider VOD as a supplementary option as well. And the real reason for that is, even if by October theaters are open at full capacity because enough people are vaccinated, that doesn't necessarily mean they're gonna be able to have enough show times or even enough people who feel safe coming back to the theater to make as much money as they would have without the pandemic. People have been hearing for a year now that theaters are unsafe, and I think it's just natural that it's going to take a few months or even a year for things to get totally back to normal with people showing up at the movie theater. And that's like, that sucks, but I get it. Again, I'm gonna do everything I can to be vaccinated so that my butt can be in a seat on October 15th or whatever the current release date is, because I wanna see that movie in a theater. And the other thing this interview really got me thinking about is whether or not Halloween Ends is also going to be delayed. And at this point in time, I'm sitting firmly in the camp that yeah, it's probably going to be delayed. The first reason for that is the movie hasn't even been shot yet, and I know what you're probably thinking. They definitely have enough time. If they start shooting Halloween Ends this August or September, they'll be on the original schedule they had from the beginning, just pushed back a couple of years, where they shot Halloween Kills in September and August of 2019 for a 2020 release date. And then they were gonna shoot Halloween Ends in August or September of 2020 for a 2021 release date. Obviously now that's pushed back. The reason I don't think that's going to happen, and I bet you guys could really easily guess this one, is because of COVID. So if you're shooting a movie right now, you basically have to have multiple COVID tests a day for pretty much everyone involved. You gotta keep people away from each other. You literally have to have someone whose job it is to watch the set and make sure people aren't being unsafe. And that's expensive. And one of the main things that stayed constant throughout the entire Halloween franchise is the fact that they're done on the cheap. So if you're looking at the landscape right now and you're saying, well, we could spend all this extra money to get Halloween Ends in theaters in 2022, or we could just wait and shoot it in 2022 for a 2023 release date and not have to spend all this extra money having COVID tests and people on set making sure everyone's spaced out and stuff. Doesn't really seem like the worst option. And another reason for that is all of these other movies that have been delayed, like Spiral from the Book of Saw, I guarantee you Scream 5 is gonna get delayed, Candyman, that Texas Chainsaw movie, all of that stuff, including bigger blockbusters like Black Widow and No Time to Die, they all have to have release dates too. They gotta come out next year, and going into 2022, maybe even early 2023, we're still gonna be seeing movies that were delayed from 2020, which is super confusing. So really, the longer Universal waits on Halloween Ends, the more money they're probably gonna make in the long run. So that's really why, in my opinion, it's gonna be delayed a year so that they can wait until next August and September to shoot it. The one silver lining for all of us Halloween fans though is that all of the Halloween Kills marketing and stuff that they had ready to go for last year is pretty much done. So leading up to June, July, August, I think we're gonna see a lot more, like a poster, more teasers, more trailers, more images. NECA probably, I mean most definitely, has a toy ready to go of the new Michael Myers burn mask. I guarantee you Trick or Treat Studios has a mask ready to go, in addition to some new prosthetic props from the movie. All of that stuff is gonna start trickling out as time goes on, so I'm pretty excited about that. And speaking of masks, real quick before I go, I wanted to show you this rehaul of the Halloween 2018 mask I got done by my friend Simon Brandolino. He's been a huge fan of the channel for a really long time, and I've been seeing on his Instagram, which I'll definitely link in the description, tons and tons of rehauls he's been doing. This guy goes through an insane, like weeks-long process to get these masks looking exactly like they did in the movie. Especially where you can see it is the hair. He put in some gray hairs here. He uses a completely different kind of hair from the one that comes on the Trick or Treat Studios mask. And then he goes in and like fills in all of the different cracks and crevices on the mask to get it like as close to movie accurate as possible. I think also they have to do stuff like opening up the eyes more, splitting the lips on the mask so it'll fit your face better. It is crazy how much work goes into this. So if you still somehow haven't managed to get a Trick or Treat Studios Halloween 2018 mask and you want one that legitimately looks like the one used in the movie, not necessarily the one from Kills because we know this is all gonna be burned, but like the one that was used in Halloween 2018, I can't recommend this enough. This thing, it's awesome. I knew it was gonna look good just from his Instagram, but then when the box got here and I opened it up and I saw all these fake fall leaves on the mask and then I pulled it out, I was just like, holy. This thing came out great. So again, his name's Simon Brandolino, huge fan of the channel, huge supporter of Happy Halloween, really cool guy all around. You need to check out his Instagram, it's linked down in the description. Anyway guys, that's all I have for you today on Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends. Definitely let me know what you think of all the stuff I talked about down in the comments below. And also let me know if you're planning on going to the theater this October to see the movie, or if you'll just stay home and watch it on your TV. Again, if you're not subscribed, I'd really appreciate it if you did, and if you rang the notification bell. And if you're one of those people who have had notifications on for a long time, make sure you click it and make sure they're set to all so that when I upload a video, you'll get an email or notification on your phone. Anyway guys, that's all I have for you today. As always, my name is Jimmy Champane, and I'll see you in the next one. Shape on.